You're listening to Business Stories with Ryan Arcaracci, where I speak to business professionals from all walks of life. Thanks for listening, and let's get to it. Hello, welcome everybody. It's good to have you with us. Today's guest is interesting to say the least. Chris Knecht is literally bringing people in a way back in time with his business, his company, his restaurant, back to the 80s Café. So Chris, I don't want to give too much away about what you're doing, but it's a lot of fun. It's really interesting, especially if you're born around the year 1980, maybe a little before, maybe a little after. If you're born in the 90s, you probably don't really remember the 80s at all, other than people that have told you about it. So Chris, tell us a little bit about your backstory, your history with this particular brand you've developed.
All right, so with Back to the 80s Cafe and More, it originated from an idea of me and my family going to a Mel's Diner, where we're sitting there and we're having the experience of the 50s.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, in the 60s and 70s, this is must be like how it used to be when you want to take your children and show them how it was in the 50s.
Right.
And so with the 80s having such a strong era and so many things that happened in the 80s, from movies to music to extends super long, I was like, let me open up a restaurant that catered to the 80s, kind of like a 50s diner, but just 80s style. And then that's when I incorporated the Back to the 80s Cafe and More in Sacramento, California, in a small city called Rancho Cordova, California.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, and what did you really want to, I've been inside your place. We've done the website and everything, and everything looks great. What I love about it is that you really stay true to everything. When you walk into the place, it's really the 80s. I mean, the signs on the wall, the posters, the VHS tapes, the cassettes, the memorabilia, like how much effort, how much work was it to recreate that feeling and that environment when you did this?
It wasn't very difficult at all. Just being able to duplicate this, being the second location here in Las Vegas, it was very easy to not necessarily exactly the same as the first one, but definitely easy to duplicate. And just if you experienced the 80s and watched any 80s music or movies and just get a feel for the 80s, then you could definitely just not necessarily recreate it, but you definitely have a detail of what to create when it comes to the 80s.
Right. So for people that have never been to your place or thinking of going, you're in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. People who are listening to this could be coming from anywhere. So what can people expect when they come, as far as the food, the environment? What kind of experience do you think you can put out there for people?
So as soon as you come, you see the Ghostbuster Ecto one right in front, and then as soon as you come into the restaurant, you're greeted by George McFly from Back to the Future, and pretty much just everything is 80s, from the food, from our Doc Brown burger to Risky Business burger to Rocky's Philadelphia cheesesteak sandwich,
right?
And all of our drinks and everything are completely 80s also, and so you get that full feel of what it was like in the 80s,
right?
Including the music.
Right. And I love that you have certain theme nights where you bring in an impersonator or a guest to come in and perform. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this past Saturday, we had Marvin Berry from Back to the Future 1 that sang Earth Angel and his other second hit that he played in the music or in the movie.
Right.
And we also had Claudia Wells from Back to the Future, who was also Marty McFly's girlfriend. And then we also had Merritt Goldie Wilson here also. And so we were able to, this is our first event that we have. Our next one coming up will be on October 30th, where we'll have Claudia Wells back from Back to the Future 1 also, which was Marty McFly's girlfriend. And then every Thursday night, you'll be able to experience karaoke and comedy with Grandpa from the Munsters.
That's awesome. That's great. So what I think was cool too is you have, people that work there, they're really into the 80s theme, and George McFly, your friend who performs as George McFly at the restaurant. There's a great story about him in social media. Can you talk a little bit about how you've leveraged social media to generate more business, and it's really blown up from there? Like what happened with that?
So we opened up July 1st. On July 3rd, we had a guest that came in that actually creates a lot of the Back to the Future DeLoreans. And he put it on TikTok and then went viral. And, when, you know, I think it's up to 2 million now. And from there, we just had a lot of TikTokers, YouTubers, Instagrammers, you name it, anybody social media, they normally come here and they normally go viral.
That's great. And what's interesting too is, do you get people of all ages coming in? I mean, do you feel like you have sort of a tight demographic of people maybe in their 30s or 40s who were kids in the 80s, like myself? Um, or do you feel like, everybody, all age groups are coming in and experiencing it and having a good time?
It's definitely all age groups because it's a fun place to be at. You listen to cool music. The fathers and mothers that experience the 80s are being able to show their kids how it was in the 80s,
Right.
and just a lot of entertainment and a lot of things that they remember just watching from TV shows or to movies or to even toys.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So recently you said you are able to now sell alcohol to 21 and over, of course, people. So how is that developing? How is that going? Or do you feel like you're, using that to get more people in and also build a theme around that, making it more of a bar experience?
Well, the thing is, we still want to be able to create a family environment. So we're
Yeah,
we're trying to steer away from just being just a bar. So we want to be able to have entertainment for all age groups,
right.
old or young,
Yeah,
and but then still cater to the ones that do want to drink, but then also not having to leave your kids at home when you're able to. A lot of times when you come to Las Vegas, a lot of times it's families and they have their kids with them, and we're one of those places that where you don't have to leave your kid. You could actually bring your kid along with you.
yeah. What I love is that you have the toys and the games and all the stuff people can take pictures next to and experience, what it was like back then. Talk about the food a little bit. Like how did you come up with the menu items? And there's a lot of creative, fun titles for your menu items. So can you talk a little bit about your inspiration for the food you're serving there and what kind of food you do serve there?
Yeah, so I wanted it to be not necessarily traditional, but I wanted it to be a difference between gourmet and traditional, but value in the food.
Yeah,
And by creating from our burgers to our Rocky Philly cheesesteak to Monte Cristo, it was you could create a theme, but we also wanted to create good food
right.
and also with a great experience when they did eat the food. So
Yeah,
we were able to incorporate that in something like the Dog Brown Burger, or Honor the Giant Burger, or Rocky's Philly cheesesteak, or even the milkshakes. And we're literally the only place in Las Vegas where you could actually buy a slush puppy.
yeah. That is super interesting because the only place you can buy a slush puppy, which I don't know where else you can buy a slush puppy.
We're literally the only place in Vegas.
So in that in particular, so you're using an actual real slush puppy machine, like it's an authentic real slush puppy treat,
Yes,
right?
that's with all the original flavors also.
That's spectacular. So before we let you go, is there anything that can you tell people how to find your place, where they can go online to look you up, or anything coming up that people can possibly come out and check out that you have going on?
Yeah, so we're located at 4755 South Maryland Parkway in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our cross streets are Maryland Parkway and Tropicana. And you could also find us online at back80scafe.com, and also Back to 80s Cafe on Instagram, Facebook, and also TikTok.
That's great. That's great. What are your plans for the future? Do you think you're going to be growing more? Any new things going on with the brand
Yeah, so
expansion or anything?
we'll still be expanding I'll still be expanding the concept to Phoenix, Arizona. We'll be reopening Sacramento here shortly within this year, and then we have projected San Diego also opening up, and then possibly somewhere on the strip too.
That's great. That's great. And I just want to remind everybody too, if you go to Back to the 80s website, the Cafe website, you can play Pac-Man on there, which is a lot of fun too. So if you want that online 80s experience, you can do that. Well, Chris, it's been great talking to you. I do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what happens with your brand. Okay, let's get some more visitors in and checking out your place. It sounds good.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in becoming an episode sponsor, please email me at livingryan@gmail.com. And thank you so much.